Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton.
All right. Hello, and welcome to the February, oh no, we're not in February anymore, March 4th edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. My name is Shelley Overton. I'm an intuitive astrologer in Florida. Nothing is the same anymore this week, apparently. Anyway, welcome. We're going to be talking about the current astrology for the week, and then we're going to also talk about Mars in Gemini, which just happened last night. So currently it is March 4th at 1:37 p.m. We'll just update the astrology chart right now. And let's talk about what's coming up. I have not looked at the news lately. I know they are going to be voting on the supplement package. So Moon is void, of course. I'm crossing my fingers this whole thing records properly and I can get it up for you, because it's all void, of course, until 5:30 tonight. I really didn't want to wait till tonight, and so I'm going to give it a shot. We've got finally my camera set up as a video camera, and I've got audio through my lovely AirPods, and currently in Florida, we've got a 12-degree Cancer rising. The moon is at 27 degrees of Scorpio, trining my Jupiter, by the way, or actually opposing my Jupiter and trining my Mars. We've got Mars at 0 degrees and 21 minutes of Gemini, Uranus at 7 degrees Taurus. We've got a stellium in Pisces of Venus, Sun, and Neptune, 9, 14, and 20 degrees of Pisces, respectively. And we've got Saturn at 8 degrees Aquarius, Mercury at 17 degrees of Aquarius, and Jupiter at 17 degrees, which means Mercury is now going over Jupiter. And it's an approaching conjunction as I speak, and we'll get to that in a minute. And then Pluto is at 26 degrees Capricorn. So we've got a fairly cooperative stellium and group of planets. They are in a bowl figure, which means that they're in half the sky. And so we've got, let's just talk Scorpio first, Moon and Scorpio. So Moon's been in Scorpio for a couple days. Quite honestly, I've felt pretty good overall. This usually throws me for a loop, but I think Mars in Gemini, which means Mars is in an air sign. Saturn, Mercury, and Jupiter are all in air signs, and the air energy definitely is having the majority of energy right now. There are 4 planets in air and 4 planets in water, but tonight, like I said, at 5:30, Moon will go into Sagittarius, and then there will only be 3 planets in water. So what does that mean? Well, air means it's an air element, and we activate in the mind and in communication. We like to connect to people via communications, and it can also rule appliances and anything electrical on a personal level. And so we are feeling this energy in our minds, in our ways of thinking, in our belief system. And then the water energy is about feeling things viscerally in our body, in our emotions, in the water that we have in our body, which means we could be bloated. We can retain water. We connect to other people and really feel what they're feeling. And sometimes we don't always recognize that what we're feeling is theirs and not ours. And that's when empathy, this may be a mistake trying to record now, that's when empathy kicks in. So we've got air and water. Air and water make steam, fog. We can feel a breeze energy, meaning the winds of change, and that's the air energy. Mercury, for sure, joining up with Jupiter, it's expansiveness and expansion around air energy. So Mercury really feels the newness and the clarity of this energy. So we've got basically 6 planets between Aquarius and Pisces. And I talked about this last week, that energy can really feel magical because we have newness and clarity coming in from Aquarius, but it's also information from spirit. And we bring in this energy and understanding that we didn't have before when the planets are in Aquarius. We also have, we're spurred to really understand things in a new and different way. So it's like we are inventive. We have ideas that we haven't had before. And then Pisces brings in the magic that is really magic, honestly. It feels more like things happen out of nowhere. Things happen because we thought about it, and then it alchemically shifts, and then there it is. So the combination of air and water in the last degrees or the last signs of the zodiac will bring out this unusual quality of magic. So at least that's how I feel. I feel like there's definitely this wonderment that's coming through, especially with Jupiter. Jupiter will get to Pisces in the middle of the year in May. And when that happens, absolutely, there will be this drive to understand things of the past, understand old modalities, understand sage wisdom. And I've got chills with that. We are bringing in the awareness of what we might have forgotten as a society, of the magic of other times, medieval times, or even, things that we view as having died or having been something of another era. They come back and they awaken in us. And so I really see that happening throughout this year. We have 3 months of Jupiter in Pisces, so it'll be May, June, and July. And then we'll go into Jupiter and Pisces for next year, for most of next year. And that just means that this energy of Aquarius merging into Pisces is with us for the next few years. Saturn will get there in a couple years, and so we'll have that energy coming in a different form, and we'll see how we can transform the Piscean energy, the dreamy quality, the visionary quality, into the material world and make things out of that. So it is a real alchemical energy that we have between planets in Aquarius and planets in Pisces. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. We have sextiles between Venus and Uranus, and a little bit of leaving sextile between the Sun and Uranus. So Sun-Uranus sextile would be more of feeling like there's something that I have to contribute that has to be made from me and that I have to bring in from the other realms. And Uranus and Taurus wants to bring ideas to the material realm. And Sun in Pisces wants to immerse in the emotion of the vision. And so the combination can really bring a literal materialization of the vision. And that is kind of coupled with Pluto's connection to Neptune, the sextile between Pluto and Neptune, which is also similar in idea because Pluto can be very transformative. It's a very emotional energy. In Capricorn, it brings emotional life to the material world. And then Neptune is the king of the ocean, the king of the feelings, basically, and how water moves and how water affects us. And so when you have the hidden realm of water with Pluto in Capricorn, the material, the structural world, and then Neptune in the realm of the oceans, the two combined, the vision of Neptune with the deep hidden psychological drive to make something happen combines. And so it's slightly different than Jupiter and Uranus or Mercury and Uranus, but it's still, or even any of the Pisces planets sextile or 60 degrees away from Uranus. But there is still this creation aspect, or bringing emotion and psychology and ideas and visions into the material world. So we've got that going on. And then there is a square between Saturn and Uranus. Of course, it was exact this week, but now Saturn is moving past that particular square. There are two more direct squares between Saturn and Uranus this year, another one in June and another one in December, the final pass in December. Of course, the June one is Saturn retrograde. So what we experienced this week, the ideas, the monetary connections, the love connections, we will have to go back over. That being said, my daughter just broke up with her boyfriend yesterday, and that definitely was a Saturn-Uranus square energy. In her chart, she has Moon in Aquarius. So Saturn was saying, what is your reality? What is the tangible goods of this? I need to probably tell her that you're going to have some adjustment period over the summer with this. And I know she is moving on to a degree in her heart in a different direction. And yet she feels that loss of the relationship and that connection to her best friend. So there will be some transformation over the summer with the energy we're feeling with that regard, love and money. And then by December, it will be a finality, and we'll be on to the final iteration or modality or manifestation of that particular energy. Okay, we've got an opposition today of the Moon and Mars, and that means that there are ideas that we want to take action on, such as doing this podcast, which can be in opposition to a deeper psychological need to be immersed in a commitment to where we are, where we live, and the family members that we have in what I do. And yet in your world, you may find that there is a deeper psychological issue that comes out. And maybe, and this is another thing about the Scorpio, even though it's an opposition, the Moon's in Scorpio, it will be an exact opposition when the Moon goes into Sagittarius tonight, later on. But even though it's an approaching opposition, the Moon is in the sign before the exact opposition. And so there's an inconjunct by sign kind of energy, meaning 150 degree inconjunct, which is a friction aspect. It's something where we need to adjust how we think, or we may just feel that this is a stressful energy that's coming in. So Gemini and Scorpio aren't necessarily cooperative zodiac signs. They don't particularly get along. Scorpio is extremely emotional and immersed in the darker side of things. They almost relish being in depression. There is a familiarity with depression for Scorpio people. And Gemini people tend to be happy-go-lucky or float along the surface a little bit more and hop and bop between ideas and stories and people. And so there are completely different ways of approaching life and approaching problems. And so Mars in Gemini is how we take our drive and what we do with it now. And it's very much based on the ideas we have and what we want to communicate and express in the world, versus being silent, being in our own feelings, being in our moods, and really gleaning or harvesting what we have to learn from nonverbal communication. Gemini is very forthright, very in your face about what they understand and what they know and what they want to express, where Scorpio is extremely hidden. They have other ideas going on. They're interpreting information energetically in a way that is very much in their body in a visceral sense. They immerse in those emotions, in that information. And so we have this disconnect between the two energies. So Moon is only in Scorpio for a little bit. It goes in Scorpio every month. This is a 28-day moon cycle. So we'll see the Moon in Scorpio again in a month. And Mars will be in Gemini for the month of March. And so we'll have a late Gemini connection to the Moon at the end of March, excuse me. And so it will be a wrapping up of the storyline between the moon and Mars later on in March. And that means that there will be communications that we are feeling now, especially into the evening and into tomorrow, where the moon goes into Gemini or into Sagittarius. And moon in Sagittarius is much more in alignment with the moon in Gemini, even though they are in opposition, because the moon in Sagittarius is a traveling moon, is seeking out understanding, wanting to communicate what they picked up of truth from the trip through Scorpio. And so they present it. And Mars in Gemini also, because the drive is to get the information out, the two entities will be, even though they're opposite, they're in cooperation synergistically towards expressing information and learning from that information. So definitely I see the next couple days as a really strong time of exposure and information coming out that we didn't know before, because it is Sagittarius, which is a sex connection. There's definitely a sexual nature to Sagittarius. And then Mars, which rules sex in Gemini, we're going to be wanting to talk about sex. And that's probably also connected to Andrew Cuomo. Not necessarily flat out, but it wouldn't surprise me if more women came out and there were some other covert activities that have happened. That being said, I also believe that you have to watch who is in the news and who offends whom, and is it truly something that hasn't already been, used to manipulate. I'm very suspicious when these scandals are coming out now and how the political dynamics work. So just pay attention to some political dynamics with who doesn't like what's being said, and when does the scandal come out? After someone was offended? It's an interesting little nuance. So pay attention to that. Okay, let's see if there's anything else I want to talk about coming up this week. Really, I find that Friday, it's going to be a little bit tough for freedom with Mars trining and Aries Chiron, and also, Moon in Sagittarius trining and Aries Chiron, and then Moon in Sagittarius in conjunct to Uranus. There is a challenge to freedom. But the moon is sextile to Saturn in Aquarius, which means there can be a shift going on around the home or around what our idea of freedom is and how we organize thoughts that seem to be a little bit more floaty. We bring them in and rein them in a little bit, or we give ourselves permission to be a little bit more floaty and dreamy and inventive. So that's coming up on Friday. And then really mostly it's the moon throughout the weekend. So we're going to have a moon in Sagittarius, like I said, starting 5:43 p.m. Eastern tonight, Thursday the 4th. And then the moon goes into Capricorn at 9:20 p.m. on Saturday. And so we'll have that. Honestly, I think Friday and half of Saturday is going to be a really good energy for lightness, lightheartedness, playfulness, and understanding and bringing in some new ideas and new ways of interacting with people. It is also connectedness to the Aquarius energy because of the sextile and the cooperation between Sagittarius and Aquarius. And so it's really a nice energy actually for Friday. And it kind of hits a dead end about 4:44 a.m. on Saturday morning, but most of us will be asleep there. And so I don't think it's going to be as harsh for us to understand the moon squaring Neptune, which is what happens at 4:44 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. And then the moon goes void, of course, until 9:20 p.m. So Saturday is going to be a rather non-productive day, and maybe going back over some of our structures and how we look at structures and how we look at systems and what we're organizing in our home life. And then we go into in conjunct with Mars at 12:29 a.m. on Sunday. So Moon in Capricorn in conjunct Mars in Gemini. This is an authority taking exception to something that has actively happened. I know that there are threats of something going on at the Capitol again today. I have not looked at the news. I don't know what that is, but it honestly wouldn't surprise me. And every time we have a difficult Gemini aspect, remember that, you know, President 45 is a Gemini. And so his chart's triggered, his sun is triggered. There is a need for attention when that happens. And having the moon aspect Mars, and then, you know, the end of the month is going to be probably the biggest energy around the Republicans or what's going on with the Republican Party and acting out currently, because Mars in late Gemini squaring Pluto in Gemini, especially when Mars gets to 22 degrees. So let's just see when that is, because it's going to be a very big expression of the energy. So I guess it's a month, almost 2 months. You know, April 23rd is when Mars gets out of Gemini. So we have a long time. The 22nd is around the 11th of April. So, you know, keep in mind also that the sun will be in Aries at that time. So sun in Aries, Mars squaring Capricorn. This is a huge time, April 11th, for acting out with regard to insurrections, insurrectionists, and people generally aligned with what's going on the right side right now. I'm just giving you a heads up. That's the flow of the energy associated with insurrectionists, especially from what happened on January 6th. Okay, really kind of what I also wanted to mention is, well, let's finish up some of the week because I'm only up to Sunday. We've got the whole week next week that is covered under this. So Monday, we're going to have a moon in Aquarius late at night into the morning Eastern time, but 11:41 p.m. Pacific. And so late Saturday, Sunday, we're going to have moon in Capricorn. So the weekend is going to be given over to more of the rigidity of Capricorn and wanting to get those structures squared away. Again, it triggers whether or not we're doing too much for other people. Are you doing too much for someone and getting resentful? This is a very important thing. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to have the Aquarius Moon, which is going to be a lot lighter. And we're going to have the air energy. Remember, every time there's a stronger Aquarian energy, right now we have 3 planets in Aquarius, including Mercury, and we're going to have the moon there beginning of next week. So the moon is going to be triggering the storyline of new energy. And remember, every time the moon goes through Capricorn, it's triggering the energy that we just got out of, the more constrictive. Remember, Capricorn is constricting and Aquarius is expansive. So the weekend is more constrictive with the moon and wanting to have the structure and the systems and literal activity. If you say it, you need to do it, follow through. And materiality, you know, where are our feelings around our own ambitions, our own careers? Are we getting what we need from our careers? And then going into Aquarius, we've got the energy that is more aligned with politically with the new administration, but also cooperation amongst countries, and that's the Jupiter and Aquarius effect. And we've got Mercury right there on top of Jupiter right now. So how we're thinking, how we're expressing and taking action, Mercury is mind, Jupiter is following through and taking the action, but also quick, you know, we do it, we move on, we do it, we move on. So, and Mercury is a very quick mental energy. Jupiter and Aquarius is quick action and done. So it really is a time where we are coming up, I've got chills all over with this one. We're coming up with the idea, we're taking action, idea, action, and we don't take long enough to really review what we've done. We just make it happen and move on, make it happen, move on. And our minds are working that fast as well. So Mercury going from, I think it moved back to 11 degrees, it's now at 17, and it's joined up with Jupiter. So it's really the final pass, because he has to get to March 13th and the end degrees of Aquarius to be out of the shadow period from the last Mercury retrograde. And that happens around the 13th. And so that'll be next week on the weekend. And I think, let's see, Mercury should be moving into the next sign pretty close to then. Yeah, on Monday the 15th, Mercury goes into Pisces. And pardon me, got the nose, because it happens every time, right? Okay. And let's see, Mercury, of course, when Mars goes into Gemini, which is now, he just went in last night at 10:30 p.m., and that was Wednesday, the 3rd of March. He is now answering to Mercury in Aquarius. And since he just went in and now he's answering to Mercury in Aquarius, he's hitting Sagittarius, which means a housing market connection, housing of some sort, probably immigrants and immigration issues coming out. And what we're doing to take action, it's duality. And Gemini Mars is very dualistic, which means whatever we do, we have to do once, twice, multiple times, and it can be opposite. It can seem like we're being really committed to this, and then we are going over here doing something with someone else, and we're completely not even thinking about that first commitment. So it's really like Jekyll and Hyde. I want to say it's like two completely different energies. And, you know, if you were thinking of selling a house or did sell a house, there's an opposite energy now with the moon going into Sagittarius, and the ruler of Sagittarius will be conjunct the ruler of Gemini. So Mars is also answering to trine by trine of sign and rulership of Mercury to Jupiter. And so that means that there is a housing market energy, there is, you know, foreigners, foreign affairs, diplomacy, all of this. I know Iraq and Iran are in the news. I heard the Pope is going to Iraq to visit that country, which was really an interesting thing, I thought. And then I know Iran is in the news right now too. We're trying to do nuclear talks with them, I believe. I believe it was Iran, not Iraq. So both of them are being connected to right now. Oh, let's see what else. Yeah, we still have Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus in Taurus is answering to Venus in Pisces. And so because Venus rules Taurus, and now Venus is in Pisces. So there's more of a cooperation going on. And it is a storyline around autonomy for women, because there is a cooperative aspect with the planet Uranus that wants to be in control of its own story, of its own life, of the entrepreneurial story. Also, because Uranus and Taurus rules alternative methods of retail and selling and sales and goods. We see the internet really taking off with sales for retail right now, especially with Venus and Pisces. I think I've mentioned this before. A year ago, I bought some Etsy stock, and I'll just let you know, I bought it for $25 a share. I don't have a lot, but now it's literally gone to $125 a share, I believe, last I looked. This aspect is going to skyrocket that energy, because the ruler of retail and the ruler of Taurus, which Uranus is in online, is in vintage. It's in Pisces, the past, the vintagey story. So we're going to see an increase in that desire for makers and maker goods, handmade and vintage. That also means thrift stores will probably get a good boost right now. Yeah, anything that relates to Venus and Pisces is going to feel really dreamy, really sensitive, and we're going to connect to other people, to other times. It is kind of the time traveler of the zodiac, Pisces energy. And the sun's already there. So Venus approaching the sun in Pisces means that women and the goddess energy is probably going to be more elevated and in our minds. We see, I would say, more voluptuous women, or women, you know, Elizabeth Taylor was a Pisces. I think Kim Kardashian is a Pisces. And if she's not, the Pisces energy is strong in Kim Kardashian's chart from what I remember. And I think it influences her house and marriage. Oh, excuse me. Oh my goodness, we got so much energy coming in here. Yeah, so Pisces in the marriage house or associated with marriage means multiple marriages. And it is also the energy of in love with love. So we really see this Piscean energy coming out in the news, or coming out in the public spotlight right now. So women are dreamy and hyper feminine and curvaceous. There is a strong energy around artistic natures, photography, the beauty of photographs, and how we can immerse ourselves in the emotion of what we see through photography. Yeah, having sun within this week is going to join up with Neptune, we will feel dreamy, we'll feel tired, we'll feel like we need to have our boundaries that we haven't had a lot of lately, and especially with Saturn and Mercury, Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter is the old ruler of Pisces, and so Jupiter's connection to Pisces, we have that coming in as well. And the Jupiter in air with Neptune in water, definitely see that there are more opportunities for rain, for storms and snow, and feeling that universal connection to other people in the expression of the weather and how the weather affects us individually. So over the course of this coming week, that will be a stronger story. Mercury in Aquarius, Uranus in Taurus, and Venus, Sun coming up on Neptune, all connected to weather and how the weather reflects us, but also we reflect it. So interesting energy coming in this week. It's really more ethereal and not as cut and dry driven in the material world because of the energy of fire, water, and air. The earth energy is only Uranus, and Uranus is an air planet. So really, I would say probably Pluto and Capricorn is the most grounded energy this coming week. Everything else is very floaty, dreamy ideas, or a burning desire to express ideas or express something through communication. That includes, we'll see things coming around, especially with Mars now. It's squaring Pisces by sign, if not by planet currently. And really, he's probably only going to square Neptune because Venus and Sun will get out of Pisces before Mars gets up to those degrees that they're at right now. So a Mars square Pisces is going to be a really strong aspect coming in. Let's just look up when that is, because quite honestly, part of this podcast, I wanted to really touch on how tough it can be for the Geminis right now, because I know Geminis really kind of gotten the brunt of what the aspects were with Capricorn the end of last year. And I think Geminis are really feeling the biggest hit from the Capricorn energy. So yes, it can also affect Leo, but I don't know, for some reason I just think the Gemini aspect, and probably because Mercury was going through Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, that it really connected to that. But yeah, in April the 11th, again, April 11th, we have a Neptune square Mars, and maybe 11th and 12th. And so that's going to really be a difficult day. I'm not going to kid you. I think that because of the energy, like I said, of insurrection, Mars coming up on in conjunct to Pluto, and then a direct square to Neptune, it's going to be a difficult time. I think that there's going to be acting out, and I do think that it's going to be kind of the dream potentially dies. The dream for insurrectionists, like the illusion, is close to its end. But, you know, that being said, we also have all the planets going direct until Pluto goes retrograde in April on the 27th. And so I think the Pluto retrograde with also Mars going direct could probably affect some of what goes on with the expression of people who are upset and taking action at that time. Juno also retrogrades in Sagittarius right around the 11th. And Juno is an energy of relationships and expression of a connectedness. And I think there's also a home energy. It is a moon of Jupiter. So in my opinion, whenever there's a moon energy, even if it's to a planet Jupiter, it connects us in the home nurturing energy to that planet of Jupiter. And so I think it's also a connection to housing and whether or not we're staying where we are or whether or not we're going to go. And so that comes up also in April. My guess is, just relating it to Trump, that there is a connection in April to probably not staying at Mar-a-Lago, given the moon turning retrograde, and Mar-a-Lago being more of a compound that associates with entertainment or hospitality, and that's what it was. Its purpose is to entertain and to be a resort. Having Juno go retrograde, which connects to resort energy, it connects to the home. Definitely, I think there's a connection to Mar-a-Lago at that point. But anyway, okay, I am going to wrap up here, and hopefully we've got this whole podcast finally sorted out and everything records properly. Nothing seems to be bad on the video. I tried doing it a different way before this, and the camera was blinking and it wasn't good, but now it seems like it's recording just fine. So we'll see how it goes. Wish me luck. And if it works out great, you can find it on Patreon. And then on Saturday, we'll probably post it live to YouTube. Anyway, let's see if there's anything else I need to tell you. Keep an eye on angeliczodiac.com because that's where I post my blogs. And also on Instagram at Angelic Zodiac, that's where I post more day-to-day links. And I'm getting my Patreon up and running. I have had it for a while, but I haven't really posted there as much. So I'm going to start posting more videos to Angelic Zodiac on Patreon. And the link is below if you're watching the video. And so, yeah, that's it. I've got links on all my social media and every means that you listen to this podcast. Hope you're doing okay. It's a little bit of a lull, but there will be some overarching energy that is going to affect us, whether it's weather or politics and the news. But anyway, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Love you. Bye.
You have been listening to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show. If you would like to get a private reading with Shelley, please contact her through angeliczodiac.com or at so@angeliczodiac.com. You can arrange a reading through the Angelic Zodiac page at facebook.com as well. Check out Angelic Zodiac on Instagram for up-to-date information on events, discounts, blogs and planetary transits at Angelic Zodiac 1 on Instagram. If you would like to see Shelley's art, shelleyoverton.com, or for astrology art, go to astroart.net. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Other music will be credited within the show. Advice given in the program is intended for entertainment purposes only. Join us here next week for more of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play, and where podcasts are accessed.
The bailout, not the bailout package, that was like 2 presidents ago, about the, what is it? Supplement. Okay, so currently in Orlando, we've got, I gotta stop saying that. Currently in Florida, we've got